Hi, I'm Dr. Sandy Queen with Queen Homeschool Supplies, and I'm continuing my video series today on the writer within, based on my book, the same title, available under the Parent Resources section at queenhomeschool.com, The Writer Within, Unlocking Your Child's Creative Writing Potential. And if you're an adult and you've always struggled with creative writing, this will help you unlock your creative writing potential also. Who knows, we may all have new books that we've written by the time this stay-at-home order stuff is over, because we've learned how to unlock our creative writing potential, and that's certainly my desire, is to help you help yourself and your children with creative writing and unlocking your potential. So yesterday we all wrote some sentences down. The blank dog ran down the blank street, and I asked you to write that 5 times. So I hope you have that paper in front of you right now. If not, you can go grab it, pause the video. I'll still be here, stuck at home in my office here. And so I want to talk to you just about when to start creative writing with your children. And creative writing is actually something that you can start setting the stage for long before a child can write creatively, by using a tool that Charlotte Mason recommended called narration. And I've talked about that in other videos, so I'm not going to really talk about it here. But you can go back and watch all these daily videos, and there's one that specifically says narration. Find that one, and you'll enjoy learning more about narration if you're not familiar with it. Narration is simply telling something back in your own words. So it's something that you can do with a very young child who's not able to read and write yet, but they can still tell you something. And one of my children, Luke, who is now a 22-year-old barber, but this is Luke when he was little, and Luke was always a storyteller. He was very creative, and he would have all the kids from church or the homeschool co-op gathered around to hear his stories, and he would just tell these vivid stories very creatively, lots of imagination, and I couldn't wait until Luke was able to write so that I could read his stories. I was looking forward to that. So one day, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, so let me look at my notes. Okay, I'll finish the story about Luke in just a moment, but right now I want you to take out your paper that you wrote those 5 sentences on yesterday. The blank dog ran down the blank street, and I asked you to write that 5 times and write different adjectives and adverbs, or I guess adjectives, in all of the blank spaces. And now I want you to go back and look at those sentences and see how those adjectives make such a difference in your mental picture that you get when you read each sentence. And each of those sentences used with different adjectives, even though it's the same basic sentence, the dog ran down the street, once you start adding adjectives, it changes the whole picture that you see up here when you hear someone read each of those sentences, doesn't it? It should, if your adjectives were different one from another in their meanings. Okay, so that's kind of the starting point for what I'm going to talk about today. So I had this wonderful son, still have this wonderful son, but he's just a lot older now. And I was, like I said, Luke was a storyteller. I couldn't wait to hear the stories that he would write, to read the stories that he would write. I thought, this is going to be my writer. He's going to be the one writing stories and novels and all this stuff. So in our language lessons series books, if you use them, you know, we use these beautiful works of art, these color pictures as jump-off points. Well, we use them for picture studies. We use them as jump-off points for narration and different things. But one of the things we also use them, I'm just looking for one. There's an example of one of them. One thing we use them for would be a jump-off point for creative writing, okay? And creative writing, there is instructive writing taught in these books as well, like how to write different styles of poetry, how to write a letter, how to write an outline, and all that kind of stuff. Different volumes have different things. But I'm talking about just creative writing, the kind of writing that you write freely, like you would in a journal where no one's correcting that, but you're just writing from the heart and expressing yourself. And so we use the picture studies sometimes as a jump-off point for those sorts of things. And I don't remember exactly which of the language lessons books it was in, but in one of the books, Luke had one of his early creative writing lessons based on a picture study. And so I couldn't wait to see what it was. It was a painting by William Bouguereau of a little girl wearing a yellow dress. She had blonde hair. She had a basket of flowers in her arm, and there was a puppy by her bare feet. And so, you know, there was all this stuff to look at in the picture. And so the day he had the picture study, we talked about it. We did our picture study. We had a good time with it. And the next day, the lesson was for him to go back and look at that picture again and then to write a certain story about what he thought was going on in that, you know, in that girl's life during the time that painting was painted. And I couldn't wait to read it. And so finally he was done with it. He brought his book to me. I said, Luke, are you done with your story? Yeah, Mom, here's my book. He handed it to me. And I took it in my bedroom because it was quiet there. And I thought, I'm going to read Luke's story. I'm going to settle down and read Luke's story. And I opened up the book and I went to read Luke's story. And I have his story memorized. That's how memorable it was for me. It went like this. The girl had flowers, period. That was it. That was his story. This kid with the vivid imagination who made everybody laugh and sit and listen to his story and ask for more. That was his story based on that picture study. And I thought, okay, that's not what I expected from Luke at all. And so, you know, I looked at it for a while and I thought, okay, I need to talk to Luke about this and see why his story is so short. So I brought him in my bedroom. I said, Luke, come here. I want to talk to you about your story. And right away he was like, oh, he knew the story wasn't what I expected from him. And so as I brought him in, I opened up the language lessons book and I was looking at the picture and I said, okay, so I'm looking at this picture of this girl wearing the yellow dress with the blonde hair. She's got a basket full of flowers. She's got a puppy by her feet. And I read your story and it says the girl had flowers, period. That's your story. And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, let me ask you some questions about this girl. I said, how old do you think she was? He said, well, she looked like she was maybe like 8 or 10. I said, okay. What color hair did she have? Well, it was blonde. What was she wearing? She was wearing a yellow dress. What was on her feet? Nothing. She was barefoot. Was there anything by her feet? Well, yeah, there was a puppy. What did the puppy look like? Well, it was a little white puppy. Would it have long hair or short hair? You know, do you think she had any sisters or brothers? What time of year was it? Can you tell by the background what season it was? What did she have on her arm? What kind of flowers were they? What color were those roses? Every question I could think of, to the point where, you know, we spent probably 10 to 12 minutes with me asking him pointed questions about things in that painting. And I was just asking him obscure things by then, like, what do you think her dad does for a living? And what country do you think she lives in? All these things that I could think of, to the point where we were just kind of laughing. It was getting funny. I was asking him funny questions. And then I closed the book and I handed it back to him and I said, Luke, you gave me such, by your answers in studying that painting, you gave me such a vivid description of what that painting looked like that if I had been blind and hadn't seen the painting, I would have been able to see it up here, exactly what it looked like, because you gave me such a good, clear mental picture. And that's what I want to see with your writing. I want to see the picture in your writing so that I can see up here what you are seeing up here. And that's what makes a good creative writer. And from that point on, Luke, it was like a light bulb went on. He got it. He understood what I expected from him, which was the struggle all along. So lesson number 1 in that book, from the Writer Within, Unlocking Your Child's Creative Writing Potential. I don't want to get ahead of myself and have too long of a video to be able to upload or hold everyone's attention. But one of the main lessons is make sure your child understands what you expect from them when you give them something to write creatively if they're struggling with putting something down on paper. Maybe they just don't understand what is expected from them. So I hope that helps you. Join me tomorrow and we'll talk about creative writing some more.